Hi everyone, and welcome to this Silhouette Studio pattern fill tutorial. There are a few ways to pattern fill in Studio. Today I will be focusing on the basic steps, as well as going over how you can add patterns to your library, and how you do this depends on the version you are using. The files used in the video are free to download, with links in the description below, and as usual I include both an SVG and Studio 3 file, and I'll be using the Studio file in this video. If you prefer, I've already uploaded how to pattern fill the SVG in Affinity 3, and I will also be doing a video for Cricut users. So let's get started. To start, I'm going to switch to Standard Edition of Silhouette Studio, which I use for the majority of my videos, but I will later on go over an option that you have if you've purchased the Designer Upgrade or above. We obviously need to load our file, and there are a few ways to do this. You can go to File, then Open, navigate to where the file is saved, and it will load it into a new tab. Or if you select Merge from the same list, it will add it to the tab we already have open. But today I'm going to drag it in from my Explorer folder, where all the files I'm using today are saved, so it's just easier for me to work with it that way. But as with everything, it's personal choice. As I am using the standard edition of Studio today, I will bring in the Studio 3 file, but if you do have one of the upgrades that allows you to load SVG files, the steps are the same. So I'll drag it in and resize it to make it easier to see. I find the quickest and easiest way to fill my shape is to bring back the folder where my files are all saved, and I'm simply using the Alt plus Tab buttons on my keyboard to scroll between my open windows. And in the same way I added the original file, I'm going to drag the pattern over the shape I want to fill, and it does it automatically. But you may be thinking, I don't want it that small, I want to change placement and make other adjustments. Well, fear not, we can alter that. If I open up the fill panel from the right hand side icons, and select the third icon along the top of the window that's opened, and select Pattern Fill, you'll see that underneath the built-in patterns we have some options. We can adjust the scale, which increases or decreases the size of the pattern within the shape. We then have the pan option, and when this is selected you'll see a small control handle appear, and holding this down with your mouse button you can reposition the pattern within the shape, which is useful if you want an area of the pattern to fall in a certain place. For example, if you're filling a star shape with someone's picture and you wanted their face to be in the centre. Then at the bottom you have the option to rotate the angle of fill patterns. There are some inbuilt one-click options, or you can use the slide bar to adjust it more precisely. And so that's how you can easily do a pattern fill in the standard edition of Silhouette Studio. If you have any of the paid Silhouette Studio upgrades, so Designer Edition and above, there is an extra option available in your library. Standard Edition users, don't go anywhere because there is a bit of a workaround. Anyway, before I go into my library, I just want to mention that I'm still viewing the software in the free Standard Edition persona, but because my Business Edition upgrade is linked to the account I'm logged into, I still have access to the library features that are included with that upgrade. If we go into the library, you'll see there's a dedicated pattern folder, but if you don't have a paid upgrade, you don't have this folder. So I'll select the pattern folder, and if I bring back my Explorer window, I can drag my pattern images directly into it. Then we can go back to the main design area, open the fill panel again, and scroll past the built-in patterns. And just underneath those, you'll see the custom patterns I added appear in a separate section. And then from here, whenever I click on any of the patterns, whether it be the built-in ones or the ones I added, it will automatically update the fill inside the currently selected shape. And just like before, you still have the options underneath those to adjust the position, scale and rotation of the fill pattern. One thing to keep in mind, however, is that anything added to your library will use up some of your cloud storage space, and image files can take up a lot more room than standard silhouette cut files. So personally, I'd only add patterns here if they were ones I'd plan to use often, or if I needed to access the same files across different computers. Now, if you don't have one of the paid upgrades and you work across multiple devices, of course another option is that you could store them on another cloud storage service like Google Drive, OneDrive or similar. But if you'd prefer to keep everything organised within Silhouette Studio, another option is to save your pattern in a regular folder in your library, so alongside your other design files. So I'll create a new folder called Patterns, and then just as before, I can drag one of my pattern images into it. This time I'll use a different image to the ones I added into the dedicated pattern folder. Now when we go back to the design area, you'll notice that this image hasn't appeared in the fill panel alongside the others. So to load it, you would go back into your library and load it the same as any other file. And again, you've got the option of using either merge or open. So merge will add it to the current tab you have selected. Open, or simply double clicking on it, will open it in a new tab. Just like before, you can do all the resizing of the pattern and adjustments using the same tools we looked at earlier. One thing to note, however, is when I clicked into the library, I had my shape selected in the active tab. So even though I chose open and the image loaded into a new tab, it also automatically applied it as the fill pattern to the selected shape back in the original tab. So it's done two things. It's opened it on its own tab, and it's also patterned fill the object that was selected in the other tab. There are hundreds of digital paper patterns available online for you to purchase, or some sites have them free, like Creative Fabrica for example. Or if you just want to give it a go, download the files used in this video from the links that will be in the description. And the patterns that are chosen can make a file look very different. So let's fill the same shape with the other pattern that I added to my library, so you can see a side-by-side comparison. So I can make a copy simply by holding down the Alt button and dragging one away with my mouse. We go to the fill pattern and select it from the ones that it's added below the built-in patterns. And as before, I can use all the tools available and make adjustments to it so we can give it an individual look. It's again quite a busy pattern, but the colours are more muted. I can then drag my mouse over both so they're selected and increase the weight of the outline to give the characters more definition. And you can see a side-by-side comparison on how different the same file looks depending on the pattern used to fill it. Now we could leave them as they are and print them out, but we could also take it a step further. I'm going to add an offset with a distance of 0.2 inches, which means the offset around each word overlaps, so it stays as one piece. Often when you do a larger offset, you do end up with lots of little cut lines inside it, but a way I quickly get rid of those is to drag off my main image, select the offset, right click and select Release Compound Path. Now all the internal pieces have bounding boxes around them, just as the outline does. So if I click off and then select just the outline, move that out the way, I can then drag my mouse over all the small pieces to select them and hit the delete button. Then I can select the main image in the offset and center them. And I'll quickly do the same with the second image. Now I want to fill the offset, but I'm someone who finds it difficult to pick colours that go together. So instead of simply choosing a colour from the swatches that are available, I'm going to pick out a colour from the pattern fill. So I'll go to the fill colour button and you'll see the little dropper tool, and when I click on it, a little grey box appears around it to show that it's active. I can then move my mouse over the image, and you don't have to hold down the left mouse button here, and as you do, the small box under the dropper changes colour, depending where the mouse pointer is. This pattern doesn't have a lot of colours, but I've picked this one simply by clicking my mouse to confirm, and we know it complements our pattern fill as we selected it from the colours within it. I'll fill the offset of the second one, but this time I'll show you a shortcut way to access the dropper tool. And that's to again select what you want to fill and then hold down the control button on your keyboard and you'll see that the mouse pointer has changed. And then as before, we can move our mouse around to pick out a colour and then click to confirm when we've selected one. And again, I'm going to select both of the offsets and thicken up that outline to again give it more definition. Now of course you don't have to pick the colour from the image itself, you could use anything depending on what you want to match. You could match maybe your wedding colours, could take colours from a photo, say you've got photos of a flower that you want to bring into your image, or maybe your branding colours. So any image that you bring into Silhouette Studio you can use. For this one I'll simply select the offset I want to change and I'll pick up the colour from the second offset so that both the offset matches. And because these images have some similar colours in them, then it suits both of them. And so that's just another way that you can make use of the pattern fill or any other images that you may have. Just bring them into Silhouette Studio and then use the picker tool to grab colours out of it. I hope this video has helped to show you that even if 100 people have the same basic original file, each person can make it unique by the pattern and the colours that they use. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial and discovered a few new ways to make use of the pattern fills in your project. If you did find it helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss future tutorials. Bye for now.